Hi guys, alright, so this video has been a few weeks coming. Now a couple of weeks ago I actually sent out email to my audience and I asked if you've got a website and you want it critiqued and you want me to show you the pros and cons of your websites, the good stuff and the bad stuff, send in your website. And of course I got a lot of websites coming back to me. Now there was over 100 websites which I could choose from to analyze and critique, and to be honest I didn't even get to look at all of them. But what I did is I saved all of those websites and I will be critiquing more of these in future if you find this video useful. So I'm going to look at two websites and they're both very different. One is quite modern, one is a bit more retro, and I'm going to show you things which could actually be applied to your own website. So be sure to watch to the end. Now my name is Shaun Letang from musicindustryhowto.com and promusicianacademy.com. Let's have a look at these websites and let's see how you can apply the lessons to your own website. Now before we get into the critique, I want to give a quick disclaimer. First of all, both of these musicians, they actually give me permission to critique their website. I like things about both of them and there's some things which I'm not as keen on and I will share them in a video. That said, before you make any changes to your website, make sure you do it not based on this video alone, because these are suggestions, but just because I mention it or because I feel something could be done better, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to improve your website. Now of course I do have a lot of experience with this kind of thing in terms of website conversions and improving websites. That said, everything needs to be tested, because sometimes on paper it looks like something should work better, but when you actually make the change your conversion is lower. You might get less sales, you might get less song plays, whatever the case, it might not work how you expect it. So any changes you make, always be sure to test the website changes. Don't make changes just because it looks better. Make changes because it makes you more money, it gets you more subscribers and the like. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's look at the first website. And this website is Phenom.de. Because it's .de, that's actually a German website. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to refresh this page and this is what it's going to look like if you first visit the website. So as you can see, there's a video here straight away. One of the things you'll notice is there's not actually any music playing and there's no way to play music. To be honest, that's actually a good thing, because when you first come on a music website, the last thing you generally want is for music to start blasting out. Because you might be in a public workplace, you might be somewhere it's not suitable to play music. In my opinion, for your website, you always want to give the user the option to play music when they're ready. So one thing I'll say about this as well before I scroll down is this arrow over here. When I first visited the website, one of the things I was thinking is there's no way to kind of inform people that there's more below this. This isn't the whole website. Of course you can see this, but to be honest, online, a lot of the time you want to make it obvious for your visitor what they should be doing, where they can go. And there is actually an arrow here, so if you click that, it brings us down. But in my opinion, that is not very clear. That is very small. And especially, look, if I play this again, if you're looking at all of these things moving, you're not really going to see this one little arrow over here. So that'll be one of the first changes I make. I will make the arrow a lot bigger, maybe a different color because it just blends in with the background, with the video even. And yeah, just make it more clear that that's an option. Maybe have, if you want to keep the white, maybe keep the white and make it bigger. And then put a box around it which is black, just so it's not ever going to get blended in. Because if there's a, something white in the video here, it's going to blend in way too easily. So scroll down. As I mentioned, this is a German website, so I'm just going to quickly click translate. Just so myself and a lot of my audience are actually English, so that's probably the best option. The first thing you notice here, got the usual stuff, the header. It's got the navigation bar, the social links. Scroll down, we got a bit about him, a bit about Phenom. And you can read this in your own time. I'm not going to go too much into this right now. We scroll down a bit more, they got a quote here. He likes his voice. Next thing, they got the single. And by the way, I'm just quickly going over this and I'm going to kind of dig into some of these things a bit later on. Next, he talks about his album. More quotes. And then he's got his live tour dates. I'm guessing they're tours. I haven't really fully looked at them, but it looks pretty much like that. A link to him in the press, some of his images. Alright, so let's actually break this down a bit more. One of the things that I like about this website is it is quite simple. It's good looking, it's very modern. It's actually just a one-page website. So if you click any of these, for example, the single, it brings you down the page, live. Same with the album. That's what I like. And to be honest, it doesn't have to be like this to be modern. But this is the way a lot of modern websites are going, especially as you don't really want to overwhelm visitors. You just want to give them the information they need. And if it's all on one page without it being too slow, that is an option. It's not essential. The whole thing where you put your website on different pages, that still works really well. But I personally like this style of website, especially for musicians. So the first thing that I want to look at is... Actually, one of the things I want to mention, which you may find weird, is, look at this. I've gone down to single, I press play. One of the things about this video which you'll notice is there's no kind of controls. There's no play button. Well, there's a play button, but there's no rewind, there's no fast forward, there's no volume. That is one thing that I would want. But another thing you'll notice is this is just an advert. This, when you play this, it's not the whole single. You can listen to a bit of it, but that's pretty much it. And when you go to album, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, there's nothing here. But that said, I do think his album's not released just based on the wording. It does say it's, let me have a quick read. The album is up. Yeah, so it says the album's up. I'm guessing he means that there might be a mistranslation from German, because based on what I'm seeing here, I don't think the album's out yet. It's good that you get to see what's available, but it would be nice to kind of have a bit more music, because if you go anywhere in this page, the only bit of music is this bit, the single, and that's not even a full song. So I would actually personally put this down to him just not having any material right now, but as you can see, he's performed live shows, so it might be good to get some music on a website, especially as that's what people are going to come to you for. So that's another thing that I would change. Let's look at what else. So the album, the single. That said, this idea is good, like I mentioned, but just have some controls on it. I actually like the quote things because sometimes it just makes you kind of trust the person more and kind of get a feel for what they're about. And it just shows that other people are vouching for you as well. They're the main things that I would mention. Now let me just actually talk about a few more things that he does well and not so well. One of the things which I found over here, HTTPS. He's actually got a secure website. A lot of the websites which have been submitted to me, they haven't got this. And while it's not the biggest deal in the world right now, Google are actually changing a lot of things. So any websites that people go across, they're going to be seen as unsecure if they have not got HTTPS. I'm not 100% sure how it's going to be reflected. It might have a kind of big red sign in the bar over here. In the way this is green, your website will be red if you do not have a secure website. So that's becoming pretty standard right now, and he's got that. And to be honest, while a lot of websites do have that, in terms of musicians, he's quite ahead of the game because a lot still haven't gotten it. So another thing that I want to mention is the links. Just went a bit too far. The links here, while it's good and it takes you different parts of the page, and it does follow you down, which is good as well. So you can just keep scrolling and you always kind of know where you are. One thing that I've seen is past the live bit, which links to here. It's actually got two more sections. So 1, press, and 2, images, and they're not linked here. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe he just wants to keep it neat over here. He may just want to focus on his main things. But in my opinion, these two should either be linked over here, or if there's not enough space in the header, what he could do, he could say more or other. Just something that indicates that there's more to the website. Because if you're looking for something specific, for example, images, you're just going to look at this and you might think, okay, it's not here, and you might just leave the website, or you might just go into social profiles. But the longer you spend on the website in terms of rankings, I'm not sure if he's trying to rank for Google. I haven't really done that much deep research, but generally you want people staying on your website for longer. Another thing he's got the other links over here, which is quite good to be honest, because these are the kind of links, privacy, disclaimer, contact even. These are the kind of links that you don't want people seeing as much because they're not as important, but they're still important, as in you need to have them on your website, but generally you don't really, the average visitor won't really be paying attention to these. So it's good that they're still clear, but they're at the bottom of the website. Now, one last thing that I want to mention, which he hasn't got, is a mailing list sign up. And he's actually got his links to his social page, Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. I'm guessing it will work. I haven't actually tried them. But one thing that's needed is the mailing list, and I'll tell you why. Social profiles are very good for musicians. You definitely want your social profiles. But the thing is, mailing list, if you actually want to make your money from your music, you need a mailing list because you can get direct into people's inboxes. When you're doing the whole social thing, it's easy to get distracted. Someone might be looking at your Facebook page and then they see something else within their feed. They may see an advert, they may click on it, they may think, while I'm on Facebook, I might as well check something else out. And generally, all of their friends are on there. So they pretty much use it for everything. They don't use it just for you specifically. They just use it as a way to get updated about what's going on in the world. And you don't just want to be another social update. You want to be the main focus. So if you got a gig, of course, put it on your social profiles. But if you can send someone an email and them open the email and then be fully focused on the message, that is ideally what you want. And that is the thing that will make you most money in your music career. So one thing I'll mention to Phenom is get the newsletter up somewhere. Give them an incentive. Tell them that if they sign up, they'll get, I don't know, maybe some free digital goodies, maybe some songs, whatever the case. Just make sure you get those email addresses. There are a lot of good services out there, for example, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, and to be honest, there is loads out there. So there's not really an excuse not to do it. So that's been the Phenom website. Let's look at the next one. Actually, before we look at the next one thing I forgot to mention is there is nothing to buy on Phenom's website. And again, I might put that down to him being quite new still. Maybe he hasn't got any singles or any albums which are available for release. But generally on your website, you want something to sell. Because as a musician, you need to fund your music career. It's all very well and it's all very fun playing music, but if the money's not coming back in, it's going to be hard to keep it up long term. You're not going to be able to sustain yourself. So you may need to get a day job, and of course that's going to take away time from your music. So my advice to him, if he's got anything, even if he's got any singles, just get them up. Just kind of make it clear to fans that if you want to support me, there is a way to do that. You might want to do merchandise because you can do a lot of print and demand merchandise these days, so it doesn't require a big upfront costs. Maybe just the cost of getting a logo designed, or if anything, you might even be able to use the logo you got here, or just something relating to your music, or a slogan you say, and just get it out there. Just give fans a way to give you money if they want to, because a lot of fans do actually want to give you money. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the next website. Now the next website I want to look at is this one by the Retrorockets, and it's retrorockets.net. They're basically a band. They do covers, rock and roll, variety, oldies music, and this is them over here. Now, initially I wasn't actually going to cover this website, but I thought it is a great example actually, because a lot of the websites I came across, I had a lot of people sending me websites, and there are a lot that are like this. But this is the one that kind of has a lot of the good things of some of them and has a lot of the bad things from some of them. So I'm going to get into some of each of those over here. Now, one of the first things that I noticed when I personally went on this website is it's not as modern as, say, the other one, or just general kind of modern day web standards. But while I was initially thought that, and I thought, okay, it's not the kind of most modern, it's not the most appealing, I actually thought their target audience is probably an older generation. And for older generations, from what I've seen, because I've done a lot of kind of studying of like web design and that kind of thing, a lot of them, they will actually trust this kind of website a lot more than they would a modern flashy website. So while it's not as personally appealing to me, it does appeal to their target audience, who are probably, like I mentioned, a bit older. What it does, it just allows them to trust them that bit more. So what I would say to the Retrorockets is, while the website could be kept like this, it might be worth testing it out as well. If they do modernize it a bit more, then just see what happens, because they might actually end up modernizing it and people don't trust them as much. People don't use their website as much. But on the other hand, it could do them really well. So I would consider staying and having a website modernized, but you never know. If you're comfortable with this website and your audience say they like it, then fair enough, maybe just stick with it. So other than the look of it, which again is not very appealing to me, but it could actually work for their target audience, what I found about this website, it is actually very fast loading, and that's probably because there's not a lot going on in terms of HTML. So if we click over here, about, it loads really fast, and they haven't got like many images, which is another good thing for fast loading websites, because Google actually ranks fast loading websites higher. If you've got a slow website, it's not going to rank you as much, and it's not going to send you as much search traffic. Over here we got the about page, and it just kind of mentions the members of the band, and it gives a bit of information about them, which I really like. We go over here next, it's got their schedule, so if you want to see them perform live, this is where you can see. And as you can see, they've got quite a few shows going all the way to December, so yeah, that's good for them. Over here next, oh, one other thing as well, please email us if they want additional information about the shows. So they're actually inviting fans to kind of get involved, and just, it's just not a case of here's the information, do with it what you will. They're actually trying to say, yeah, come get involved with us. This is not just about us, this is about you as the fan as well. Over here, we've got the listen page. As you can see, it's got some of their songs. And one thing I noticed as well is what they could do. These songs actually, they're not all very fast loading. These two load quite fast, but that's only because I've played them before. It's got a bit of a gap there, so that's something they may want to take out. Let's see this one. Okay, that load decently fast, but maybe just kind of look into what player you use, and maybe use a different media player, and it'll just help load it that bit faster. You didn't really see it there, but it's loaded quite fast, but when I initially loaded it up, it was a little bit slow. Going over here next, song list. It's very good they do have a song list, but what I will say to them is don't have it just as an image. As you can see over here, the good thing about having your song list on your actual page in text is it becomes scannable by Google. So Google can't read this, it just sees the image. But on the other hand, if you've got all of these words, kind of names of musicians and names of popular songs, then it's more likely that your website is going to appear on this page in Google. So that's one thing I'll say to them. Let's look over here. It's got some reviews. And of course, this is just social proof. So this is a good idea. They do this quite well. If anything, I'll make the font a bit bigger because it looks quite small compared to the rest of the font on your website. And while it's not an issue for me personally, especially if you're targeting an older audience, you're going to probably want to make it bigger because not all of them are going to have the eyesight as well. And of course, I'm not trying to generalize, but it's just a fact. Not everyone has eyesight as well, especially as they grow older. So let's go here, photos and past gigs. One thing over here, I'll mention, these ones are fast loading because I've looked at them before, but as you go here, the loading becomes a lot slower. Yep, see? And what I'm guessing is these images even are quite big, and it's just taking a while for them to load. Alright, we're back to the beginning. Actually, it's quite a bit faster here, but yeah, we're back to the beginning now. But I would still look into it, just have them faster loading. And another thing I would say is you probably want to set them out side by side. So have 1 image, 2 image, 3 image, 4 image, 5, 6, 7, and just allow people to click them for them to go larger. Because that way you don't have to scroll through all of them to kind of get to the ones they want if they got a particular image they like. And especially for not just for your fans, but also if the media is looking at your website and they want to pick an image, it's going to be a lot harder to do here. They could go here, open new tab, and they could see it bigger, but not everyone is as web savvy as that. Not everyone would think to do that. So yeah, just have all the images and allow people to click them to make them larger and take it from there. Now over here, it's got the past performances. It mentions here photos/past gigs, and to be honest, it is a bit of a weird combination for a page, but as the photos currently are just it don't take up much of this page, it's okay. But what I would personally say is maybe have the photos, as I mentioned, there are a few over here, and then on a separate page have the past gigs. Or furthermore, just have a gigs page in general where they can see both future gigs and past gigs. But I do like that they've listed all of their past gigs because it just adds again to their social proof. It shows that people have booked them and they are in demand. So that is something I like. I'm going to go to the last page now. They got a contact page. It's pretty standard, but everything said, it's a good contact page. One thing I'll say about the Retrorockets is they cover pretty much everything. They allow you to see their images, look at their song list, play their songs. I would say they could have more songs on offer so you can listen to more of their songs. But generally, they've got it pretty much all covered. Now, a couple of things which I would personally change is this. As I mentioned with the last website, it's all about making your website secure these days. So you need a HTTPS. If you don't, as I mentioned, not secure. And when people kind of come and see that, especially an older audience, they're going to be thinking, what is this about? I don't really want to enter any information on this website because it's not secure. And some people might even think, no, I don't want to visit this website at all. I'm going to come off straight away. So it's all about getting HTTPS. Most web hosting companies these days, they'll give you a free one. Not all of them, but if you're on a good web hosting company, you can contact them and ask how you can secure your website. Now, another thing is the mailing list. These lot actually do have a mailing list if I find it. Yep, subscribe to our newsletter. You can click here. While it's good they do have a newsletter, there are a few things that I would change. Over here, it's just saying subscribe to our newsletter. There's no real incentive. And as it's one of the main things you want people to do, you need to give them an incentive. You want to show them this is what you want to do. So not only would I have it higher up the page, maybe kind of have it in this section alongside some text, but I'd also, again, offer something in exchange for it. So I don't want to just offer them a newsletter just for them to get emails. Only the most dedicated fan are actually going to sign up to that newsletter. What instead you want to do is make it instantly attractive to people that aren't your diehard fans, that you want to turn into diehard fans. So you might say to them, here, get 20% off our next gig if you sign up to our newsletter. Or you might say to them, get a few of our songs, or whatever the case is, just something that would make them go over the edge and sign up to your newsletter. Another thing that I would change is this section over here. There is a big section which is basically not doing anything. When people come across, I've got actually a quite big screen, but a lot of people's screens, they're not as big. It's going to take it's probably going to go to there. And you want to have your main calls to action above the fold. So by above the fold, I mean things that people can see as soon as they come on your website. My fold is quite big, you can see from here to here, so it's not really as much of an issue on my computer, but for people who use mobile phones or smaller screens, this is just a lot of real estate, as they say, website real estate, which is just a waste really. So what they could do is move this all the way up to here. There should be no red above there. It should start just with the navigation and then move on from down there. And that will help with conversion rates and just allowing people to stay on your website for longer. And I've actually just realized I didn't actually finish what I was saying about the mailing list. So of course you want a stronger call to action, but when you actually go on it, it's actually, to be honest, I think there's a bit too much text here. Of course, it's important information to have, but you have to scroll down to add your details, your email address, your first name, last name. That's all good. In terms of actual form, that's cool. But again, I would have this higher up and I'll have the text underneath, because these people, if they've actually clicked to go in your newsletter, they're already more or less convinced that they want to be on. You don't want to put another barrier between them. So just have this higher up and have the text and pictures underneath. I'll go back. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about the Retrorockets. Overall, while I personally feel it can be a bit more visually appealing, they have got a lot of good things on their website. They've got all the information that people generally need. Sometimes they could word it a bit better to kind of get people taking action, but overall it's quite a good website for their target audience. Alright, so that's it. Hope you actually found the critique of those websites quite useful. And even if your website is not exactly like that, what you can do is use the pros and cons that I mentioned of those two websites and actually apply them to your own website, because both of them did have things that were good about them and they had both had things that weren't so good. Have a look at your website, see if they've got any of the mentioned pros or cons that I said, and change it accordingly. Now, if you found this helpful, be sure to like it, be sure to share it, subscribe to the channel, click the notifications so you get all our videos. And if you don't know, my name's Shaun Letang. Check out musicindustryhowto.com for general advice on the whole music industry. But if you want to become a professional musician more than just a bedroom musician, check out promusicianacademy.com, because we're striving to make a number of professional musicians this and next year. My name's Shaun Letang, and I'll see you in the next video.